I think it's, I have this like turn of phrase that I use, like drops in the bucket, where like if you never know what drop is going to overflow the bucket and get you to what you want ultimately, you just got to keep putting drops in, you know? So it's like, yeah, I think eventually something would have happened that ignited my career, whether it was this video or another one in the future. But I think you can't even think about it that way. You just got to keep your head down and keep focused on what you enjoy doing and, you know, what drives you.
Jeez.
Trying to get everybody else pregnant.
Yeah. It's like, hey, everyone. It's around like 3.5 inches. Just to, sorry. It only took me a few minutes to do that. Was it easy to travel with him? Did he cry?
So much easier than I thought.
Yeah.
I was so scared.
Yeah.
But we like talked super late. I love the name of Kill.
All right, welcome, Julie.
Thank you.
I've been so excited to have you on here just because, you know, it's been so special to see how everything, your growth, I'm just so excited to finally see it come true because you are someone that I know that deserves
Thank
all
you.
of it.
Wow, thank you.
Where did this all begin in terms of your writing? How old were you, or was it acting first?
Okay, so I initially came to Toronto to be an actor.
Okay.
Always knew I wanted to be a performer to some degree. And I went to acting school and I graduated and I just assumed that I was gonna be famous right out of the gate.
You knew already.
Well,
Which is great.
I had aspirations. But actually the industry was really hard. Like I auditioned and I got an agent and I spent years, I actually spent 7 full years not working as an actor. Not trying. Like I was avidly auditioning and oh my God, doing so much work for free. And, but no, it was really hard. So I turned to YouTube. Partially because I wanted to practice my craft, because I do think like a lot of performers don't get the opportunity to practice. It's so expensive to get acting classes and whatnot. So I wanted to practice. I wanted to create a portfolio online. And then after, you know, maybe a year of being online, I realized, oh, it can be its own career.
But when was that moment that you realized, okay, whoa, there's this platform that I could finally utilize and kind of take or pave my own path?
I don't know. I was always like a YouTube watcher. So I think just seeing that as like, I needed to scratch the creative itch. And so it's less about like, oh, this is going to be a business opportunity. And it was more like, oh, finally I can do something creative for myself when I feel so run down by the industry.
Which is what you felt 7
Oh
years.
man, yeah. No, I just felt, yeah, like I felt like the gatekeepers of the industry. And I don't say that word like with a negative connotation. Like there is a place for casting directors, and but I felt like they weren't seeing me and what I had to offer. And I knew that I had a voice and something to say and something to write. And so the beauty of YouTube is that I got to not only perform, but I also got to write my own stuff.
So having full control of just your future.
Yeah, exactly.
When you speak of like gatekeepers and all, is there a certain kind of standard that needs to be upheld? Is it about the looks? Is it about just nepotism?
Oh man, that's a great question. I mean, there's a lot of nepotism. I think it's a really like saturated market to be an actor and performer, and so it's hard to cut through the noise as a new creator or a new actor and performer. I also think at the time, because this is now 15 years ago, I I don't know. I was told by my acting professors that like, hey, you're an ingenue. Don't focus so much on comedy. That's not your hit. And I think casting is much more creative now. I think they see people in different roles, than they would have maybe parsed them out before. They used to have everybody stay in their lane. Like if you're an attractive man with good bone structure, you're going to be a leading man. You're not going to be funny. You're never going to be the quirky best friend.
Yeah.
And I do think that has changed a little bit.
So there's a limit to, I guess, your looks is what kind of determined your role.
That's the whole industry is your looks. Yeah.
But when did comedy come into play, and were you ever natural at it as well?
Yeah, for sure. Oh yeah, no, I like always loved comedy. As a kid, I was always on like improv teams and a lot of laughter in my household. And so I think I was a little bit discouraged when I came here to go to acting school because it was very stuffy and it was very much like not comedy focused.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
It wasn't. It was just more very like drama, kind of like serious roles.
Yeah, it was specifically for me.
Okay.
Specifically for me and what I look like. I could play Juliet and Ophelia and those types of roles.
But you felt like a Kristen Wiig kind of
vibe. A little bit, yeah, I did. And also and that goes with kind of my writing because of course I perform all my own writing.
Yes.
And so
how do you feel about that, being able to perform what you've written? Like, is it just another level of...
Oh, it's so easy.
Oh, it's easier.
It's the easiest. Yeah, because you write it for yourself.
Yeah, okay.
So I know exactly how I want to deliver this line, so I'll write it exactly. I mean, it can be a bummer because you don't get that beautiful discovery that comes with kind of collaboration and working with other artists. Yeah. But, it's also... easy and fun, and you get to challenge yourself in different ways. I write characters for myself that are scary. Well, like I'll put a German accent on a character and then be like, oh, I better freaking work on my German accent.
Yeah. Which, have you mastered this now, accents?
I got some good accents. Yeah, I got some good ones. I do a good Northern Germany.
What is a Northern Germany accent? Okay,
it's a little less... this is me not being a specialist at all. My Northern German accent is less harsh. It's more of a I have a German accent and it's like you don't even think about it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, very subtle, I should say. Subtle and light.
It's like you're German, but you moved to Canada and...
Right, yeah, exactly. Like I still have to speak German to my parents, but...
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Yeah.
And what kind of characters do you find the most difficult to play?
Characters I find most difficult to play? I mean, they're all fun. I wouldn't write myself something that I was like, oh, I don't know if that's right for me. But I do have crutches sometimes where it's like I'll go to the same character over and over again because it's easy. So sometimes it's nice to do something different and vulnerable and scary. I remember I created this one character that's this kind of greasy next door neighbor who has a bit of a lisp.
Oh God.
I'm like that when I was a little bit nervous for it, just because his body is a little different and the way he speaks is a little different, and
like a stalker kind of vibe when you said.
He's not a stalker. He's just like a weird uncle where you're like, are you socially all there? Yeah. I will say I played a character, I don't do a lot of drama, but I was on this one show and I booked the show because in the audition I must have been in a mood. I must have been feeling myself and I cried in the audition.
You did? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
I had waterworks, which is pretty rare for me in acting, and booked the job. And then of course I had to freaking cry for this role, and there's 50 people watching you, and it's the end of the day and everyone's ready to wrap up, and it's now my crying scene.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Oh,
the pressure.
I go, it is the worst acting I have ever done in my whole life. I was pushing so hard to cry, my face was bright red, it looked like I had to take a massive shit. My character is supposed to be mourning over the fact that she's got to go to prison because she murdered somebody, and I was just it was rough.
And then speaking of skits, obviously, from what I've seen and just, I'm not surprised it blew up, but explaining like the pandemic to your past self.
Yeah.
How did that skit come about? Like, what was of course, obviously it was like recent.
Well, there was a pandemic.
Yes.
So you kind of need that to
Yes.
start. I don't know. It was in March of 2020. It was right at the beginning of the pandemic when there was a lot of uncertainty. And I don't know. Do you remember like everyone was sequestered in their house? Like you couldn't go grocery shopping, or if you did, you could go like once a week.
Yes.
Anyway, so my husband and I had this like ongoing joke about like, oh, if only like we had so many plans in January, like how like sweet summer child, how foolish we were back then to be making plans. So we had a joke of like, oh, if I could go back to like my January self and like tell her to buy so much toilet paper and like invest in Zoom. And then that just kind of turned itself into one of our weekly sketches. And we were lucky enough, I mean, I am so thankful that we could still work through the pandemic because I just make videos in my house.
Yeah, so your life didn't really change too much, just now, obviously.
I mean, it changed because the video went viral.
Yeah.
In that way, yeah.
What did you think is the reason why that specific skit got viral?
Popped off.
Yeah. Did you ever think about just like what the formula that could be at that time?
I think, I thought about this a lot. I think it popped off for a few reasons. One is that I think it really resonated with people. I think people like comedy and entertainment that there's relatability for. And at the time, like nobody was really talking about the pandemic in a comedic and entertaining way. That also still felt kind of reverent and respectful. And I think the video that we made like really towed the line for being thoughtful yet still topical. So in that way, I think it really resonated with people. And the other reason is a lot of the comedy that is online and particularly on YouTube that does well is all like cut downs from like Saturday Night Live and like late night shows. And those shows weren't producing content at the time. So there was a bit of a vacuum.
Oh, you saw an opportunity.
Exactly. There was kind of a vacuum in the comedy domain of the online space. And we just filled it.
That's amazing that you saw the foresight to like take advantage of that, right?
I think a lot of it was, like the fact that it popped off was luck, for sure, I think. I think it's, I have this like turn of phrase that I use, like drops in the bucket, where like if you never know what drop is going to overflow the bucket and get you to what you want ultimately, you just got to keep putting drops in, you know? So it's like, I think eventually something would have happened that ignited my career, whether it was this video or another one in the future. But I think you can't even think about it that way. You just got to keep your head down and keep focused on what you enjoy doing and, you know, what drives you.
You said like earlier that you knew you were going to be famous. Like, what was that like? You used to have this sense of confidence about yourself?
Yeah. Well, I think I knew, maybe famous was the wrong word. I think I knew that I just had something to say that was more than I felt like the acting industry was giving me credit for.
And during that time, what did you have to say, and did it change your message?
I don't know. I think at the time I wanted to be a woman who created comedy, and I didn't see a lot of that. I didn't see a lot of like young women who looked like me making comedy for everyone, not just for other young women, you know? I like early when I was making stuff for YouTube, I would constantly get the comment of like, oh my God, women can be funny. Like, I can't believe this woman. Yeah. Because I do think that still like a lot of people carry that, I don't know, misunderstanding that like women can't be funny for a male audience as well.
That's always been the stigma kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a bummer because it's not true. But now, I mean, things are even different now because there's a lot of amazing female comedians.
Yes.
I mean, I think Bridesmaids, don't quote me on this, but I think Bridesmaids turned the tide a little bit because it was a hugely funny movie that did insane at the box office across all demographics. I do think that was like a pivotal moment in comedy specifically for women.
Yes. That is that go-to movie I watch every Christmas.
Oh, it's so good.
Every time.
Melissa McCarthy, like shitting in the sink. It's so good.
And then going back to, I guess those comments that people make about women, and how do you deal, now that you're in the public eye, how do you deal with the negative feedback? Like, what are the ways to kind of not let that get to yourself?
Just like, don't read.
Don't read it. So just complete avoid.
Yeah, I mean, I know sometimes I'll see stuff and I'll feel, you feel like an impulse to reply.
Yeah.
But unless I'm really wrong, like there's no reason to reply. Sometimes it's just criticism, and you just, as a creative, you have to learn to take criticism.
Yes. That's
a part of the gig. So if it's criticism, I'll take it, even if I don't agree with it. Mm-hmm. If it's like a cruel comment, it just doesn't serve anybody to reply.
No.
It's a waste of my breath because I won't even get this person's attention. And then if I was right, like let's say I did sway them and they were like, oh my God, Julie, you're actually right. I'm really sorry I wrote that comment. Will I really feel better at the end of the day?
Yes, exactly. You can't let them get to you.
Yeah. Yeah, with the internet, if you're going to create stuff on the internet, you got to be pretty prepared to have people not like it.
Yes.
And you just got to be full steam ahead doing what you like, doing what you're doing.
What was the meanest thing you kind of heard, or
Oh
that
my
really threw
God.
you for a loop?
I don't know about the meanest thing, but there's been some really, can I swear?
Yeah, of course you can.
There's been some really fucked up comments. There was one recently, it's like super vulgar, but he saw that I had a baby and he was just like, oh man, like your poor vagina will never be the same. I feel so bad for your husband.
What the fuck?
Yeah. And I was like, I just saw that and I was like, that's amazing that you were birthed by a woman. You must have women that have kids in your life. Like, women are doing such a service to humanity by having kids and taking on that sacrifice. And you have the nerve to talk about their bodies like that.
And you just kind of let that pass. You didn't.
I reshared it on my close friends.
Oh, okay.
Instagram story. If they're really good, I reshare them because I think they're so funny.
So you found a way to just like laugh things off.
Oh, you got to. I mean, that one's just stupid.
Yeah.
Sometimes people will be like they'll disagree with something I've done. Or they'll be like, oh, this is not your best video. But they're probably right. It probably isn't.
I saw you're also on Run the Burbs.
Mm-hmm.
Is it just more acting or is it writing that you're...
That show, so we're in season 3 of that show.
Congrats.
Thank you. I mean, I didn't really have anything to do with that, but I was in the season 1 writing room and development room. So before the show gets greenlit, just a few writers were brought together to flesh out the world of the show, a few of the characters, just give it a little more three-dimensional quality. And then we gave it to the network, and the network said, yeah, great, love it, greenlit. And then while we were then working on developing the first season, the role that I play, Sam, came up, and we were holding auditions for it. And I was like, well, shit, I want to audition for this role. And I even, because I just loved the character, I thought she was so like spunky and fun, and I wanted to be her. And I kept like, every time we talk about her, I kept trying to shape her to be more like me.
Because you had the power to write her character?
So yeah, sort of. But I would definitely always pitch like, hey, and so maybe Sam, like maybe she's really into golf, because I love golf. And they'd be like, oh, that feels kind of random, Julie. But yeah, so when I ultimately booked the role of Sam, and then I stopped working in the writer's room. But yeah, we're on season 3. We're filming right now.
So it made you so happy to finally be on there and to write? would you say, when that opportunity came?
Oh yeah. Well, but the show wasn't even greenlit, so it was more just like a. I mean, had I have known at the time, I would have been like, "Oh my God, this is a huge opportunity."
Yeah.
But you know, at the time, it was just like it was this really small reading room. It was a really cute idea of this kind of diverse family in the suburbs, just figuring out how to family.
Yes.
So yeah, I was all on board. I thought it was really cute story. I still do.
Yeah.
Now I think it's an important story though, because
Yeah.
now the show really tries to reflect, you know, cultures in a very authentic way and sexuality in a very authentic way. And this is important. This is like a good reflection of Toronto or, you know, parts of Canada that are this diverse and
Yes.
like the beauty and the diversity. And
Do you hang out with a lot more actors too, or
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
It probably
It's a-
helps, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah. It's a good network in Toronto. There's like a really good comedy scene. Sounds pretentious, but it really, everyone's just so supportive. I've spent some time in the States doing acting,
Oh.
and not much. Like, I just find the community there, maybe because it's bigger, but I find the community just a touch less supportive. Whereas in Canada, I don't know, Canadian actors, like, we have to work really, really hard because there's less jobs up here. There's less money. I don't know. If you meet an actor in their 30s, there's usually a nod of respect because it's like, oh, you've been through it.
Yeah.
Because it's not easy to be an actor in Canada. And so for that reason, the community is really tight-knit and super supportive.
Okay, so you find that like there's more competition in the U.S. And that's why they're a little bit like that too.
You know, I guess, and maybe I'm painting it with too broad a brush because I'm sure there are like small nuclei of supportive communities, but yeah, I don't know if it's more cutthroat down there, and that's just like maybe it's a cultural American thing. It just doesn't serve anybody to be competitive up here. You know, it's like. You kind of just all have to be supportive of each other because it's hard. It's hard for everybody.
Exactly.
And we can kind of all succeed together. Like there is room for everyone to succeed.
And where were you born?
Calgary.
Oh, Calgary. Wow. And you came what age to Toronto? Just for school?
I was 18, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You left home quite early too.
Yeah.
Were your parents quite accepting of like what you wanted to pursue?
Oh my God, I have the best parents in the world. Yeah. Oh yeah. My parents were accountants. They don't necessarily understand maybe what goes into what I do, but they have the utmost respect and appreciation for it. Like they are the biggest champions of my career. And even if there was a time that maybe they were like, what the fuck is Julie doing? They would never have showed it.
So they would never voice it to you?
No, oh my God, no. They are just the most supportive. Yeah. They were here visiting recently, and we were shooting a bunch of videos, so my mom was looking after my new baby, and I had my dad reading lines with me, because I usually always act with myself, so I need somebody to read the opposite lines while I'm filming. And he was so cute. He just kept cracking up at like every other line. And we go, okay, Dad, no, you can't laugh. You have to be quiet.
Yeah.
And he was just loving every minute of it. It was
Couldn't
very
handle
cute.
it. Aw.
No.
So after everything that's happened, like just with getting viral and just being now in the public eye, like how has this changed your life? Like what are the major things that you're seeing?
Oh God, it changed everything. I mean, it made me more appealing to casting directors, so it changed my life in the acting world. Like it changed my life financially, you know, because there's no way around it. Like if you have more eyeballs, you get more money. And I like to think it didn't change me creatively. Like I think I still have the same aspirations. I like to think I was still going to make these same videos that I'm making today. Regardless. But yeah, it kind of changed everything about like my situation, but also changed nothing about how I create. Yeah.
Did it add a layer of pressure though? 'Cause
Yeah.
yeah, I was gonna say, because then now that you've had this big hit, like what's next? I hear that commonly.
Yeah. I used to say it didn't. It totally fucking did. Yeah, just like the pressure of like, oh God, am I gonna fall off? Am I gonna become irrelevant? People are gonna be like, oh man, what happened to Julie? Remember her? But I'm just trying to navigate that now and just kind of center myself and bring it back to why I started making things in the first place. And yeah.
And speaking of life changing as well, you're now entering motherhood.
Yeah.
How has it been?
Yeah. That is such a loaded question.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's good. It's really cool. It's cool. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. The highs are high and the lows are low.
Yes.
But yeah, it's really cool.
Have you always dreamt to be a mother?
No.
Oh.
I think to be perfectly honest, I think I saw motherhood as like, I don't know, like not a weakness necessarily, but like I was just so career driven that I was like, I can't believe, like there's never going to be time. It's going to be something that's just like a thorn in my side to have kids because I want to have a career. Yeah, that was my 20s, is how I felt about it. And I thought, well, if they, maybe if there's time, I'll have kids, but there probably won't be time.
Yes.
And then I hit my 30s and I was like, oh, no, having kids is one of the most important things I could do with my life.
What shifted?
I think I just got older. I think I was like, well, really what happened is I started to think about like, oh God, I can get older if I don't have kids. I'm gonna have really sad Christmases.
You went dark.
I have really sad, alone Christmases. And then my husband dies before me. I'm gonna have like 10 years of just being alone and I need someone to look after me.
So the snowballing of just...
Yeah, I definitely wasn't ready to have kids when we first started trying.
Yeah.
I wasn't ready. But I also just don't think you're ever ready. I think you just kind of gotta trust.
What has been the best part about it so far? I know you're only 4 months in, but I'm sure you're seeing the beauty of it.
There's so many best parts.
Yeah.
One of the best parts is like how proud of my body I am.
Yes.
Holy shit, it's amazing. Women's bodies are superheroes. I created a human, which is pretty fucking cool, like a whole one from scratch. Yeah, and I think just like seeing him change and evolve and like become a little human is really like, it's really surreal. To be like, oh my God, today there's like more of you today. Like you're grabbing at stuff and now you're giggling. Oh my God. Like to watch them become like a full-fledged person is really cool.
Are there things that you wanted to instill in him that you wish you had growing up?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I think that my parents, while they did absolutely the best they could, I think they were both workaholics and we didn't get a lot of family time. So that's something I would 100% want to change. I know I grew up in a really supportive household, so like there was a lot of love there, but just prioritizing family time. I'm the one who brought him into this world, so I should spend time with him,
Absolutely. And what are the worst parts about it? Is it the sleepless nights? Like what can you expect in 4 months of
Oh man, the worst part is the self-doubt, is the feeling like you are constantly failing.
What?
And it's like a mix, it doesn't make sense.
Okay.
It's a mix of hormones, plus also just like you know that they need something, but you can't figure out what they need. And sometimes they're just fussy and they don't know what they want. And so you just spend hours and hours and you just feel like you're failing. And you feel like you're failing them because they're upset and you can't soothe them. I've talked to other moms that have babies of other ages and they've said it's the same thing. And it doesn't get better. You just always feel like you've done something wrong. Like you're not parenting them the best way possible.
And that just comes from just the self-doubt and not really them just crying like uncontrollably? Like what triggers that mentality?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's sleep deprivation.
Oh, so yes.
It's
In the hormones.
yeah, it'll be tough. It'll be like he wants something and I can't figure out what he wants, and like I didn't realize that like his zipper was pinching him. And so I spent hours trying to figure out what he wants, and then you see that he's got to get cut from a zipper and you go, "Oh my god, what the fuck?" Like this poor guy's been in so much pain this entire time and like couldn't say anything and I couldn't figure it out.
Oh, well, that's how you know you're a good mother, just because like you're taking on.
Because
that
I'm
blame.
so
Yeah,
I'm so concerned.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
What are you up to? What are the things that you're really looking forward to, especially for next year?
I would say like motherhood is probably my top priority. I spent so many years being like a career woman that I think I'm gonna like let that take the back seat or the back burner and instead focus on just parenting and enjoying these years also, because they're already going by so fast. Like the 4 months, he changed so quickly. And so yeah, just enjoying it.
And as you should, because like you said, it's fleeting. And
Yeah. And it's going to be a little boy. Like I got to get my cuddles in now, because there's going to be a point in time where he does not cuddle me anymore.
Or that
He's
teenage
going to be like,
phase.
"Mom, you embarrass me."
Tell me about this tattoo today. What?
This tattoo is of my puppy. Her name was Sanka. She passed away almost a year ago. And yeah, she was really young. She was 8 months old. She got a really rare brain disease.
Oh.
Yeah.
8 months.
Super rare, super unfortunate. I don't know why it happened. I don't know what the universe was trying to tell me. But yeah, she was taken from us.
Oh my gosh, so sorry to hear that. Because this is your firstborn, basically.
She was, yeah, she's got like a really important place in my heart.
I remember when we last talked, you were just excited to get a puppy, right?
I know.
And
Oh, how things change. Yeah. No, I'm such an animal person. It sucks. It's like, I like don't let myself think too much about it because it was like such a terrible time.
no, of course. I feel like a lot of people like who don't know what a dog's love feels like, they're missing out. There is something so special about this species. Like, you know, like I wish they just lived long enough. And
I know. Well, they evolved alongside humans. Like we evolved together.
yes,
Um,
which is a beautiful thing.
which is why that we can be such good pals.
Yeah.
Sank had this great trick. Have you ever seen Cool Runnings?
Mm-mm.
No? Nikhil, have you seen Cool Runnings? Oh, takes place in my hometown, Calgary. It's a great Canadian movie. But so one of the characters' names is Sanka.
Okay.
And the like ongoing joke of the movie is that they'll like get in a bobsled crash or whatever. And the one guy in the back is always like, "Sanka, you dead." He's like, "No, man." And so Sanka had this great trick where if I say, "Sanka, you dead," she would roll over and play dead.
Stop it.
Yeah.
That's so sick.
Yeah. Yeah, she had some cool tricks. She was like, we were like super diligent about training her.
Yeah.
So she had some cool things she could do.
Okay, we're almost nearing the end here.
Whoa. It's
Really
beautiful. It looks just like her.
I've seen the trend with you now that like you only do things on bigger occasions in
Yeah.
your life or just more meaningful ones, right?
It's a time capsule
Yes.
or a scrapbook.
Absolutely.
I am a scrapbook of my life.
So why do you find tattoos so important, and like what does it compel you to do something so permanent on yourself?
I think because it is a mark, for me, it is a reflection of things in my life that have left a mark. And so it's kind of the outward expression of that. I know for a lot of people, you know, tattoos like are beautiful art pieces, which they absolutely are. Or it's just like a fun thing to get. For me, it's more of like a scrapbook. It's, you know, at the end of all this, at the end of my life, it's gonna tell a story of kind of the things that happened to me.
Yes. I love the way you put the time capsule, because that's the way you should view it. Because some people, you know, they're so fixated on, oh, what is it going to look like in the future? Am I going to like that same idea?
Oh, yeah.
When really it's just, why don't you accept who you were at that time being? And that's
Right?
okay, right?
I totally agree with that. I also I don't know. I say this now, and who knows, I might change my mind, but I'm not a super huge advocate of, like, I won't get my tattoos fixed.
Oh, okay. So
Do you know?
you just accepted that's the
I
way
think
it is.
so, because
Yeah.
that was the time. Maybe, I don't know. You never say never, I guess.
And since we're nearing the end, I wanted to ask one last question.
Okay.
Just everything that you've like portrayed to the world and how people see you. What is the one thing you wish people would know about you, and that they might not know?
That's a very difficult question because I purposefully keep a lot of myself private in order to be protected. And maybe that's why the negative comments don't get to me, is that I haven't actually fully showcased who I am online. So it's like people can criticize my work, but you don't actually know me well enough to criticize me.
Yeah.
I guess I think I would want people to know that it's just me making my stuff. Sometimes I get the comment that it's like, oh, you're this team, and like they think there's a whole group behind it, but it's just me. It's how I feel.
That's sad.
Wow. Oh, she's so beautiful.